This is for all of my friends who get a little weirded out hearing about vision boards. I want you to stick around, okay? Because we're going to talk about this from a Jesus perspective. We're going to talk about how you can cast a vision for your life and partner with God in the process. My friend Debbi Sluys is an expert in this area. And so you're going to want to listen in. If there are things you've been wanting to achieve and it feels really difficult, or you don't understand why it's not working, this episode is for you because she's going to tell you how to partner with Jesus in all that you do to cast a vision for your life. Hey friend, welcome to Milk and Honey with Lemon. The Bible says in Numbers 14:8, and if the Lord is pleased with us, he will bring us safely into that land and give it to us. It is a rich land flowing with milk and honey. On this podcast, we talk about stepping into that overflow that God has for us by becoming those ultimate Proverbs 31 women. Hey, I'm Lemon. I am just like you, sister friend. I knew God had something more in store for me, but I couldn't see a way out of the laundry piles. And frankly, I resented that Proverbs 31 woman. How was I going to live up to the hype? That is until I found out how to really step into becoming this Proverbs 31 woman through leadership development. In this podcast, you're going to find financial freedom, leadership growth, and motivation so you'll be able to do all the things God has called you to do with ease and really step into that land of milk and honey. Before my friend Debbi comes on, I want to invite you to an expert coaching call that she's actually doing. So literally Monday, she just dropped a course on vision boards inside of the membership at Girl Power Alliance, and she's going to be our expert coaching call this month. And so you're going to want to get in this month, start taking your course, start changing your life today. There's a link in the show notes. You can actually sign up directly with Debbi. So you can work with her. She can be your mentor and everything, which is incredible. You actually get both of us then at that point, which is amazing. And so come and check it out. I 10 out of 10 recommend you do it and just go to the show notes. Go to the show notes, click the link to sign up and get involved because you are going to want to take this course. Welcome back to the Milk and Honey podcast. I'm your host, Lemon Price, and I am very excited about my guest today. My friend, Debbi Sluys is here. She is a personal development and empowerment coach, and she does something, and I don't want anybody to get triggered when I say this. She works with vision boards, and she's a believer. So if you my husband, I know would be so triggered by this because he comes from like a new age pagan background. And so I just love what Debbi does. She brings Jesus into it because it is actually a kingdom principle and idea. So Debbi, just thank you for being here, my friend.
Thank you. I don't think I've ever had trigger as part of my introduction, but that makes so much sense. And I come from a really conservative Christian background. And I'll tell you that within my Facebook network, people that were triggered were Christians. And it's just an interesting conversation. And it never occurred not to do vision boards. It to me, and we can talk more about this, but I'm just diving in deep here right away, but it's actually part of my purpose. It's that I see it as an act of worship. The New Age has hijacked so many biblical principles. Like they are biblical and they've hijacked them. Not like we're taking back these principles from the New Age and trying to apply Christian beliefs. No, they have been Christian and from Jesus' mouth right from the beginning. It's just that it's just been twisted. So I'm taking this back and saying this is how we get to live intentionally with purpose to glorify God.
Oh, Debbi, I love this because, it's so funny that you say that because it's definitely Christians, I think, that get triggered the most by vision boards because it sounds so new age, right? And which is wild to me because Bible says all the time, write the vision, make it plain. Like it's everywhere. And so I would love to know how you went from like conservative Christian background to this concept that has been hijacked by the New Age. What was that journey like for you?
I guess I was a bit rocky. I'm adopted, so that's part of my story as well. I was adopted at 5 months old as a baby. I was adopted into a family. My dad actually was working in insurance. My mom was a homemaker. And then my dad got called to the ministry. So I'm a PK, preacher's kid. Actually, my grandfather was also a pastor. But I always knew I was a little bit different because I was raised in a very conservative Christian hierarchy in terms of the male. There's only male pastors, only male leaders in the church. I always knew I had so much to offer. And so I was always trying to find ways to be able to serve within the church. But yeah, so I always felt this rub to say, is this really what the Bible teaches? There are such extraordinary women in the Bible, like the woman from Proverbs 31. And what about, like, my name is Deborah, like the judge, that woman, she drove a spike through a guy's head because that's pretty powerful. I always knew that. And so I went into an occupation. I was in childcare for 30 plus years as a director. And that was also part of my purpose, in that I also had some childhood trauma. I was sexually abused as a little girl by my grandfather. And so I had this sense that I wanted children to have an optimal childhood, that they, at least at our childcare, I couldn't control the home environments, but at least at our childcare, that they would have safety, security, an adult who saw them, who heard them, that made them feel like a sense of belonging, so that when they looked back at their years in our childcare, even as an adult driving past, that they would have that fond memories of that. And I know I achieved that because I was there for 30 years, and I had people were children, brought their own children back to the childcare. So that was the highest compliment ever. So that was really wonderful. However, in my role, as I became more and more of a leader in my organization, I led a team of about 75, predominantly women. I noticed that they were lacking in self-confidence, clarity, focus, purpose. And so that's how I discovered vision boards. And the person that I found online talking about vision boards was Jack Canfield. Any conservative Christian probably had a Chicken Soup for the Soul book on their shelf, right? Chicken Soup for the Teenage Soul, Chicken Soup for all the different books. But Jack actually is also known for vision boarding and his book, The Success Principle. So I studied his work and realized that most people are teaching it in a way that it's focused. And I think this is why it also triggers Christians, because it's about the stuff. We think about the parable of the man just wanting to fill his barns, and he dies and he's just left with all the grain in the barns, but it doesn't matter. And I think that's where people also get triggered with vision boards, is that it's just about material stuff. And the way that I do it is it's completely opposite, that it actually begins with your being. And people can say, I don't really believe in vision boards. I'll tell you, you look at one every morning and probably every night, and it's your mirror. So when you are brushing your teeth and you're looking at that face that's staring back at you, what are you saying about her? Because truly your self-image, what you decide to say about her, that is the direction, and that's probably the results that you're seeing in your life based on that image in the mirror. And so I actually encourage my clients to put an image of themselves in a prominent place on their vision board. That's the foundational piece. And then everything else that goes around it is connected to that. But holding it loosely, knowing that all things come from his hands and all things are for my good, and that he directs that. But I have a responsibility to ask. He's given us the direction for the Lord's Prayer. Ask for your daily bread. Get specific. So I'll pause there, but that's how I came from the little girl who was a little feminist already, I guess, going, hey, how come the boys get to do all this stuff and I can't, to where I am, where I get to be a leader and support people to dream big.
I love this transformation. That's the same transformations that I went on. So I was raised anti-Christian. My family, we were definitely not, I was definitely not a PK. My family was making fun of Christians and thought you guys were all nuts. And then I was in a very conservative, high control group. And then that told me I had no value outside of my womb. Now I live in the Bible Belt in the United States, where I also had a pastor tell me there's nothing a congregation can learn from me because I'm a woman. And I was like, okay. And it was my husband who was like, no. He was like, no, my wife has inherent value. Like, this does not jive with me, which I was like, oh, okay, I love that for you. But that's how I ended up here, is a lot of men telling me that I had nothing to offer, which I think is just so fascinating in and of itself. I hear that from a ton of women. That's how they end up in these leadership roles. and figuring out like what God actually says about them and who they are after the big C church has told them that there's nothing they offer. So I love that this is the direction you're going. So what makes what you do then? Because you're like, I love when you put the topic in, you're like, how to do vision boards that work. So then my brain immediately went, well, yeah, of course they probably work differently because you're partnering with God in them, where the new age is not doing that. So I would love to hear like what a vision board really is, and then how what's your approach? How do we do this?
I was actually having this conversation with my coach, and I'm not I don't think he's a Christian. They say things like the universe has your back. And I'm like, that's phony baloney. God has your back. God supports you. Like he's in control of everything. The universe, as in universal laws, and this can also be a trigger for Christians because they're like, oh, there she goes. But the law of gravity is a universal law. Like it works the same every time. You drop something, it's going to fall. That's gravity. So there's also laws like laws of vibration. It's the laws of gestation. You plant a seed, it's going to take the same amount of time. It's always going to sprout if it gets all the nutrients and everything that it requires. So as a Christian, what we really have the secret, which means that we know who controls those universal laws, which means that we can offer gratitude and thanksgiving and praise, knowing that they work. And as I said, we have a responsibility to activate them. So the way that we do that is by getting focused. So the reason that the vision board works is because I teach people the combination. So it's like, if you want to learn to play the piano, you can sit at the keyboard and just bang on the keys, but you're going to get just noise. It's not going to be music. You need to be taught, here's how to read the music. Here's how to position your fingers. Here's what the white keys do. Here's what the black keys do. And you practice and practice. The same thing with the vision board is that I'm going to give you the sheet music, so to speak, on how to create an orderly board. Now, this is a tip for anyone listening. And if you've created a vision board before, I would put my money in the fact that it's a collage. I actually want to get t-shirts that have a little X through the collage. Collage is chaos. If you look at the way God created the world, nothing is chaos. If it's chaos, it's because we as humans have messed things up. Look at what the pandemic did in terms of the waterways that were polluted. And when people weren't actually polluting them, they went back to the way that they were intended to be. And one of the biggest standout things is that I teach people how to create a vision board of order, because that is how our minds function best. And you and I were talking earlier about being extrovert, introvert. It doesn't matter whether you're an introvert or extrovert. We all thrive with a sense of order, having preparation. Some of us do better. We can be on the fly and urgency and so forth. However, feel when you walk into someone's home, let's say it's somebody that's a hoarder. I don't care who you are. It's like, it gives you the sense of anxiety. So why in the world, when you're putting out what it is that you desire in your life, would you have it be chaotic? So that's one of the first tips I would say is first have an image of yourself, by the way, in a happy time. So remember the glamour shots in the 80s? So it doesn't need to be like the glamorous shot. It's more about the emotion that it invokes. And then second tip, and there's a whole protocol that I walk my clients through. When you do a vision board with me, actually, the full vision board takes 6 hours. And some of my corporate clients are like, what? 6 hours? Or real estate people, like, we don't have time for that. And I'm like, look, this is the most important day of your year. Like, this is getting clear on what you want. I call it the new spa day. This is one of the highest forms of self-care. Like, give yourself time to focus. What do I want? And not just business. Some people just want to make a business board. I'm like, you're not just a walking billboard for your business. You're not a business card. You are a wife or a mother. You have a sister or parents. You want to keep learning about things. So let's have all 7 areas holistically represented on the board, which is actually probably like more important than the money. Actually, I discourage people from putting bags of money on their board. There's another tip. Because you're not going to decorate your house with like stacks of money unless you're Scrooge McDuck, right? Remember Scrooge? Like the uncle?
Yes, I remember he would dive into the vault of coins.
That's not us. Woo, that's good. It's fun for a little while. And then what? No, it's about what the money is actually the how. So it's beyond the money. So I do encourage people, if they want to write a check out to themselves, they certainly can do that. It's about getting clear and focused. But it's more about what is it beyond that you want? What does that life look like to have freedom of time and freedom of money? Wow, more time with my family, beautiful family picnics, or whatever it is that you desire. And you can feel your emotion. You can feel, and I do speak in this way, like a vibration. And sometimes Christians get triggered by this as well. Ooh, Deb, all that energy talk. I don't care who you are. You walk into a room and people have just been arguing. You're like, ooh, this is bad energy. Like people that don't even talk like this, that's what they say. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay. There's so many things that I love that you said. I love this concept of God is a God of order, and vision boards that are giant collages, they do feel a little chaotic and stressful. And like, we do need to get you like a whole merch line with no collages.
Yeah.
Because yeah, okay. I love so many of the start with the self, like in these happy moments. And yeah, I love that you talked about the energy of it too, because I think Christians would like to pretend, oh, it's a new age concept and energy thought. We don't talk about that, but you feel it when you walk into a room and you can tell there's tension, or no, yeah, we've all heard this phrase, like you cut the tension with a knife. You
right,
can't,
exactly.
that doesn't just happen. Like it's something we can all feel and you can sense. And so I love that there's emotion behind it too. I think that was something like I'm like afraid to tell you I made my own little vision board, and it is a collage. Don't yell at me. But
well, I'm not surprised. Most people, you look on Pinterest, you type in vision boards. So yeah, this is why I'm a master at this, is because I've niched down and I've discovered what is it that makes a vision board work. You're in good company. That most people, that's how it's portrayed online. And it's mostly about stuff. Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I see. Okay. See, maybe I was always meant to be your friend, because I know, so I put like a new house on mine, but when I did, I was like thinking about like the Christmases in the house, and because we homestead too. And so my whole thought was like, wow, if we had a bigger kitchen, think about all of the grain I could mill myself. And then that's going to turn into pizza and bread and like all these things I'm doing with my kids, as opposed to like it being about the space necessarily, and more like what's going to happen in the space. Is that like
100%.
Makes sense?
Yep, 100%. Actually, he didn't become a client. He was a prospect. And he said, I just want to prove to my dad that I'm successful. And I just want to get the big mansion. And he said, so do I put that on my vision board? And I said, you can, but I said, you're going to be pretty miserable. And he's like, why? I said, because you're going to have this house. I said, imagine now you get the key from the realtor, you open it up. And I said, you're like, no, nobody's going to be there. How fun is that? So now you prove to your dad, like that's such negative energy. I said, if this is what you want, exactly what you were saying, Lemon, think about, I would put an image on your vision board of maybe just hands in kneading dough, or like little hands, like little ones kneading the dough, or a beautiful big marble countertop where you can roll out dough. Maybe it's grains. So whatever provokes that beautiful image in your mind of your family gathered around baking, cooking together, and just the laughter and the joy, and then eating together. That's what goes on your vision board, because you can feel that, right? Even as I speak, could you feel it?
Yeah, 100%. It's so funny. My husband and I were just talking about this, like how he was looking at new cast iron stuff for me when we moved this spring. And because he wants to throw away all of our pots and pans, get all new pots and pans. And he looked at this. It was a pricey set for some cast iron stuff. It was like $3,000 for this cast iron set. And he was like, that just feels like an investment. But when he said it, it wasn't like it's an investment into like you having good cookware. I see this as like heirloom pieces we pass on to our children, because we do make all of our food from scratch pretty much. And so a lot of our family time is in the kitchen, and my boys are cooking, and like that is where, and then we are thinking about like, we go to the farmer's market every weekend, and my son, he's 10 now, but he has a zucchini guy he's been going to since he was 6 for his zucchini, because he makes his own zucchini bread. And so we're like, when we think about the farmer's market and all these, like when we think about food and our family and stuff, like those are the things that come up. And so it was so funny. As soon as he was talking about putting this in our kitchen, he immediately put it in our boys' kitchen when they're married with children and things, and just that whole journey. And I'm like, that makes me emotional, right? Like when I think about it, I'm like, yeah, I want to do these things because of what it means down the road. So do you ever have resistance when you're working with people on their vision boards because they're so conditioned to put just stuff?
Yes. So that's another reason why it takes 6 hours, because you need to get into the right mindset in that. So the first couple of hours are exercises. So we do a number of exercises and we talk about the left brain, right brain. The right brain is where creativity lies. And so I, diffuse oils. I have music that is cello. I don't know, for some reason, the cello is very soothing, and really just to bring down the guard and to go back to what it was like as a child. Do you remember, like most children, if they weren't traumatized, you ask them, what do you want to be when you grow up? And it's just like, ooh, I want to be a princess. I want to be an astronaut. It doesn't, there's no how. They don't care about the how. It's just, that's what I want. And so we want to get back into that playful side of ourselves. And that's what I support people to do. But I also meet people where they're at. So the vision board isn't a one and done. I recommend that you do it on an annual basis, or at least every 18 months, like 12 to 18 months, that you create a new one. And some people say, it hasn't fully manifested. That's okay. It's like wine. Can I speak about wine here? I drink wine. Is that okay?
Same. I'm a red wine girly. It's fine.
Okay. I'm in a Baptist church. And so sometimes I'm like, oh, can I talk about
Yeah.
But it's like wine. That it just ages. And so I'm like, put that vision board, please don't take it apart. That's something else that people will do is, oh, I got a cork board. I'm just going to pin them and then I can take them off when it manifests. But that is very tricky. Our ego is so strong where we want to be, like you think about, when you're in Sunday school and for attendance, you get the gold star. We want to get the gold star. Like, ooh, look at me. I'm manifesting. No, just allow, be patient. I think this is something that Shay was talking about last night about patience. Just allow and be patient on God's timing, because often, even though we put it on the vision board, what shows up is bigger and better because it's God. So we only have a human mind that can conceive, like you're talking about the cookware. So it might be that you've put it on your vision board, an image of the cookware, and you're imagining what that will be like. But then who knows how God's going to bring that into your life? Maybe you think, okay, I got to save the $3,000 to be able to buy this. And then out of nowhere, somebody says, hey, will you be featured on our family cooking show? And in exchange, we'll give you all the cookware that you use. Who knows? Like, it can come from anywhere. We just need to be open that you're like, oh, a TV show, I'm busy with GPA. I don't like, but noticing, oh, this is what I asked for, and God's sending it to me, but it's different. And so it can feel really stretchy as well as things come in, and I'm going to use the word and manifest. And so it's interesting. My husband said to me, because he's still trying to figure all this stuff out. And he said, Deb, manifestation's just life. Because why do you call it manifestation? I go, it is just life. Because what you focus on, you attract more of. And I'm sure we've all had examples of that. It's just we don't call it manifestation, especially as Christians. Sometimes we get hung up on those words, but that's truly what it is. And we bring more of that into our life. Did I answer your question? I was all over the map there. Sorry.
No, it's so good. And I love that I love that you talked about this openness too. It reminds me, have you ever heard the story of a man who, it's just a random story, but it's about this man who's in a flood and he's praying for God to rescue him. And so he sends a boat and he sends the man on a raft and all of these things to him. And he's, nope, I'm waiting on God. I'm waiting on God. And then he dies and he get up to heaven and he's like, why didn't you rescue me? He's like, I sent you a boat. I sent you a raft. I sent you all of these things, but you weren't open to receiving them because it didn't look the way that you thought I was supposed to show up.
I actually had that happen.
Oh, tell me.
I wasn't on a steeple and I wasn't like, I'm still here. But October 2022, I declared And again, there's a very biblical word, look through the Bible about declaring. So I declared that I will do luxury retreats abroad with my own magazine. Because prior to that, I had pivoted because of COVID and gone online, and I had been serving people globally, but back in person, I'd only really been able to only do my own area where I live in Ontario, Canada, because I'm really stringent on the protocol to use paper to create your vision board, not like a digital Canva version or anything like that. There's a whole other conversation around why that's important. But my husband has a pickup truck. He owned a building supply company. So we would take the pickup truck full of magazines. I literally have a garage full of magazines, and we would pack them up and go to on location. But I knew that I wanted to do places abroad. And I'm like, how am I going to do that? So I declared it. So 3 times I had one of my clients who lived in Fort Myers, Florida, reach out to me and say, Deb, would you do this retreat in Cape Cod? The place is a Chatham Bars Inn. It's a women's group of 12 ambitious business women. I have my client. I can't do it. So can you do it for me? Because I'm moving from Fort Myers to Georgia. And I'm like, oh, sorry. I paid for a retreat. I paid $1,000 for my own retreat. So I'm busy that weekend. Sorry, I can't do it. Then she came back to me. She's, Deb, my house flooded. I don't know if you remember the hurricane that came through in 2022. Yeah. Her house flooded. It was right on one of the canals. And she was busy packing for Georgia. So all of her stuff, because it was a 2-story, was in the basement, or in the garage, flooded. And I said, no. This part I regret so deeply, but yet she's still my beautiful friend. I'm so grateful for her forgiveness, is that she reached out to me. She's like, my mom passed away. I cannot do this retreat. Can you please do it? And I said no for the 3rd time. Unbelievable. Then my mastermind group, which is why it's so important to be in a group like this, where you've got women. And I was on the call last night where Shay was like, okay, who's going to help her? Who's going to be accountable? Who's her lifeline? My lifeline said to me, Deb, we heard you declare this at a retreat. Are you crazy? And I was like, oh, I did. So I got to gift my $1,000 retreat to another deserving person. I got to say yes to my client who was ecstatic. I got to say yes to her client who was ecstatic. And then I was like, okay, God, how am I going to create a magazine? It's got to be hard, right? I was like, okay, so this is as far as I go on this train. Okay. And I reached out to a woman that I've been featuring in her magazine in Australia. Suffice to say, so anybody that's able to see, 5 weeks later, I was on an airplane with 12 magazines, 12 pairs of scissors and glue, and serving 12 powerhouse women, who then one became my client in my academy. I train trainers how to do this. I have 40 graduates. And almost to the year later, I'm working, I told you about John Canfield, Chicken Soup for the Soul. He used my magazine in California, Santa Barbara. We were talking about that earlier. That's where the conference is going to be, in San Diego in California. They used 200 of my magazines to offer vision boards in the Canfield training. October 2023. This is only a few months ago. But I almost said no. I said no 3 times. So thank goodness God has me in this mastermind who shook me and said, are you crazy? God's sending this to you on a silver platter. And you're like, no, it's not exactly what I think it's going to look like. No, because it's bigger and better. So miracles happen.
I love this. Okay, we could be here all day talking about this, but if you had to leave everybody with a final piece of advice to create vision boards, what would it be, friend?
I would say start with, I'm going to show mine here. This is a little exercise that I love. It's called a power word. And I think that I might be doing this at my next talk. And that's coming up. If you look in the schedule there, you'll be making a little mini vision board. So if you want to join me that night. And so start small if you haven't done this before, and choose. So I'm going to walk you through it. So this is a great place to start. This will help you self-regulate when you're having that tough day. I've got twin daughters who both have babies, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I remember those days where it's like, just be quiet. You're having one of those days. It just helps you reset to be that being. Who do I get to be? And remembering who you are and that you're a daughter of the King, and that you get to choose this word to help reset. And that is going to help you then respond, which will then also give you the results, the outcome that you desire.
Wow. I love this. This is so powerful. So powerful. Y'all are going to have to come hear her speak in April. I'm going to drop a link for you guys to sign up with Debbi to come hear her speak because you want to do that. And then where can everybody go connect with you, my friend?
Yeah, my name is the URL for my website. So it's Debbi with just an I, Debi, and then Sluys, SLUYS.com. Or if it's easier to remember, it's declare.com.
I love it. Y'all, please go connect with her. She's amazing. She truly is incredible. And just thank you for being here and sharing all this wisdom and knowledge. And just thank you for the work that you're doing and just reclaiming this thing for the kingdom like it was intended to be.
Thank you so much. It was super fun to share with you.
Y'all, I just love Debbi. I think she is incredible. What she does is incredible. And as a reminder, I want to tell you, Debbi is our expert coaching call this month inside of Girl Power Alliance. And she just dropped a whole course on vision casting. And we're starting the speaker training this week. So there's a lot happening inside of Girl Power Alliance. And so go and sign up for Girl Power Alliance. Sign up with Debbi. The link is in the show notes. Just click view more or whatever device you're on. So it's in the description. Come and work with her because you are going to be so glad that you did. Hey friend, what a joy it has been to share today's journey with you. If you found a spark of inspiration or a nugget of wisdom that resonated, would you bless someone else by sharing this episode with them? It could be the encouragement they need to step into their purpose and calling. Also, if you could spare a moment to leave a review, it would mean the world to me. I really appreciate your feedback and it really helps our community grow. Remember, the road to discovering God's call for you isn't one you have to walk alone. So join me again next Monday for another episode where we'll continue to explore the depths of leadership and the heights of our heavenly calling. Until then, keep seeking, keep growing, and keep trusting in His plan. God bless you, and I'll catch you on the flip side. Bye, friend.